Hi everybody and welcome to Penfinity. My name is Wesley22 and today we're gonna go over the creation process of the gold shader. So if you remember last year I released one on Gumroad, but I decided to remove it and refund it because it doesn't make sense to me to sell shader by shader. So I will release the Psychemist pack directly. So today, this one is really special to me because this is when I started to go deep into the shader creation process. Because unfortunately, at the time, I was looking for one for freelance work, and I searched everywhere, even on the Blender market. I bought some of them, but unfortunately, they didn't have the component I was looking for, and I have to tweak them all the time depending of the HDRI I was working with. And it was really annoying to me because the shader didn't have the proper behavior it should for a gold shader. So I updated recently with a much more simple node setup. So that's what I'm going to show you today. But keep in mind, even if the setup is simple to implement, that doesn't mean the thinking process was. So it's like the cycle ID mask, it's made with only 4 nodes, but it's because of the lots of research and experiment I did before allows me to make it look that simple. So don't let that fool you. So enough talk and let's go to Blender. Let me see if the recording is going right. Okay, because I switched my screen to 1080 to give you a much better quality, so I have to reset everything. So let me open the shader bowl, and yeah. Okay, so for this one, I'm not going to use, let me create basic material. I will not use my custom group. I will create everything from scratch, so you will be able to screen capture the entire node setup and understand it better. So let me switch this one to a glossy one and duplicate this and mix both. So if you remember the previous session, I always used 2 glossy and with the multiscaler GGX to create metal shader because it gives me much more flexibility. And that's one of the reasons, because a lot of you are asking me why you don't use the principal BSDF, and that's exactly why. Because it doesn't give me enough flexibility to go really really deep into the shader process. It is really good for when you import texture from Substance and stuff like that, but it doesn't give me enough flexibility for now to create what I want. So now I'm going to use a multiplier for the roughness. So for that, let me add a value. Wait a second, just put my glass. Okay. And a math node set to multiply, and I set a factor of 2. So just plug this here, this one here, and this one here. And now let me put that to 0.1, a little less, 0.05. Okay. So now I have this. So if I sorry for the noise. You will see this one versus this one, and the mix gives me a nice spreading. Let me board it. Okay. So now I'm going to use 2 different colors for the glossy, and that's where the trick will be, is to mix the right kind of color with the right amounts to give you the realistic goal you're looking for. So for that, I will use the RGB node, and for the other slot, I will change the color with the hue and saturation. So if I want to update it the only thing I have to do is to go change it here, and it will update everything for me. So let me put a hue in saturation. Let me plug that here. And let me... Sorry, I have some bug with the screen. Okay. Let me... What was that, in fact? Oh. My mega thing. Okay. So let me choose something yellowish like this. And yeah, this is one of the mistakes I found in a lot of gold shader. They just use a glossy shader, put a yellow color, orange color into it, and yeah, and plus a Fresnel, and this is done. And of course, it's much more complicated than that. So yeah, that's the problem I found most of the time. And now let me plug that to the hue and saturation and change this one. Let me put 0.8. Let me decrease the value. Okay, this is interesting, but the color is still orange. Let me increase the hue. Oh, okay, this one is better. This one is better, and it will go here. So I have this and this, and when I mix both, I have this. So this one is already much more interesting than having those two separated. Give me a nice variation, but that's not enough. I want to, I don't want to have a plain color like this. If you remember, I already use that node all the time in my shading process to have some facing effects, to have some nice gradation. And let me show you how I create this one. So for that, I will use a layer weight combined with the mix RGB, and I will plug the color here, and the facing as a mix factor. So you will have this. And now I will use another hue and saturation, but this one I want it to, let me change this to, whoa, it is way too high. No, you know what, I'm gonna use the hue instead of the saturation. Let me decrease the hue like this, and maybe the value at 0.8. Okay, just plug this here. So I have this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this mix shader and plug this here so I can remove the effect if I want. And maybe you're going to say, but why not just decrease the facing here? The reason is, with the facing, I want to influence the amounts of gradation I have here, and with this node I want to lower the intensity, you know. So that's why I had another mix node. So this spreading, for example, let me put it to 0.4, maybe even lower, 0.3. So for example, this spread looks nice to me with the mix here, but I just want to have the possibility to remove it with this value. So let me keep it like this for now, or maybe put it to 0.5. And I'm gonna plug this here instead of the plain color, and plug it here too. So now with the hue and saturation here, I will have this effects. And now I have much more variety on the gold shader. I have much more mixed into it. Maybe it's a little too strong, so now I can increase to, no, let me switch it. So 0.4. 0.3, even lower. No, 0.4, that's good. Okay, this is really nice. So this is it for this one. So this is this is exactly the same as this, the same thing. So now I will add the, if you search for gold reference on the internet, you will find the gold has some type of greenish tint into it. It's because of the mix of the different elements into the gold, but most of the yellow realistic gold will have this type of greenish tint. So that's what I'm gonna add now. So let me again add a hue and saturation and plug it here. But for the roughness, I'm gonna pick this one, the same as the first one. And let me take, I'm not gonna take the one with the facing. I'm gonna take the plain color because I want to use a mask. To use a mask with the pointiness, so it's not necessary to add the facing. Right. So now let me see the color, and I want something much green type. Let me stay in 0.6 and decrease the value 0.8. Okay, nice. The saturation to 0.9. 95. Whoops. Is it 1 and 0.95? Yeah, 95 is better. And now what I'm gonna do, let me what I have to do, my god. Let me duplicate this here, and I have this, and add a geometry with a color ramp here, and check it here. Just reduce, let me put it at half, like this, or maybe a little less, 0.45. No, it's too much. 48. Okay, let's keep at 49 for now. Now I'm going to use this as a mix factor here and plug this greenish one here. So I will have this, in fact. And let me use a math node set to multiply. Now we plug this here. So, and now let me plug it here and see the results. Let me increase it to 1.5. Okay, so it has to stay really settled, but as you can see, we have the really greenish tint here. Let me show you before after. It's really settled. But this is that subtle detail that will make a huge difference in your texturing process. And now let me add the Fresnel. Only for this one I will use the this group node. I already detailed how to create it in the previous video about the cycle refractive index, so you just have to look for it. And let me oh no, let me plug this here. Let me increase the Fresnel, put the specularity 0.1, put maybe the energy conservation, something like this. Maybe lower the influence to the half, like this. And I will add a tint to the color, so it is the same. I use a hue and saturation, and take this one, and this one I'm going to lower the saturation a lot. But let me 0.3 and 0.4 like this, and plug this here. If 1.3 is better, increase the okay. Okay, so let me increase the sample for you to see it better. And this is it. It is as simple as that. So let me rearrange it properly for you to so you can see the overall setup. Let me arrange it proper for you. Now I'm gonna put this one here to see what makes. Okay. I forgot to arrange it properly before. Okay, this is for the mask. So I can geometry. Let me arrange it so I can zoom it for you. Okay. So now you will be able to take a nice screenshot. And this is it. As you can see, it is really not complicated. It is about mixing it properly, but you have to understand the fundamentals of materials, and I will put on the comments of the video some really useful book allows me to understand a lot of things. And combine that with your cycle knowledge, you will be able to break it down in really simple steps to try to make something really effective to use. And this shader is freaking easy. It renders really fast, and it will adapt with any type of HDRI. So if I can, let me show you. Let me take my mouse and let me show you this one. As you can see, it adapts really well regardless of the HDRI, and I tried dozens of them, and this setup works really nice. And that's it. So really simple stuff, nothing complicated. And yeah, always something I recommend you to do when you want to create a shader. Gather reference and study the reference, but don't keep them while you're creating the shader. So, for example, you take notes about, remember the video dissect for procedural, and I use mind map app called Coggle, and I put something like, okay, I'm going to use glossy mixed with the diffuse for that part, and use that type of texture, use a Voronoi for this and for that. And once I have the mind map set up and my notes, I close the reference and try to replicate it from imagination. And once I render, compare with the photo reference to see when I nailed and where I failed, and go back to it and try to make the corrections. So it will allows you to understand the material creation process much more much faster, trust me, and it will forces you to really think in advance, and trust me, it will pay off in the long run. So that's it for this one. You have the entire secret of the gold shader for now. And yeah, if I have new discovery, of course, I will let you know with update. But for now, this setup is to me the best you can have for now to create really realistic stuff. So if you have any question about this session, of course, don't hesitate to ask me. Put a comment below or send me an email. So I hope it was informative. Of course, if you if it was, just drop a like. I will really appreciate it. And I want to thank all the new subscribers. It's really amazing, guys, to see you subscribe and leave me all your kind words. I really appreciate it. That my goal with this channel, as always, is to make the best content you can find out there for advanced stuff for Blender and open source pipeline in general. So of course, if you have suggestion, question, something you don't understand, don't hesitate. I always reply to the comments. And until the next video, today it's Friday, so I wish you a great weekend, and see you soon, everybody.